I have been avoiding it for very long, but not anymore. And in this video, we are going to talk about the naming conventions, which is a very important topic for all the developers out there. And following the naming conventions for a specific programming language makes you a better programmer because you write a program that everybody can understand. And since now you know all the basic fundamentals of Apex like variables, methods or classes, I think you guys are ready for the naming conventions that you should follow in Apex. So the first thing that you should know about Apex is a case insensitive language, which means if you name your variable as Jaipur, you can also change the cases in this Jaipur variable, like I can make this J capital and my code will still work. I have other variable which is recovered in area. I can also make this V capital and my code will still work. I can even change my class name with small c and my code will keep on working. So there is no issue with our code here. So unlike Java, Apex is a case insensitive language. But should we really access these variables or methods or classes with different cases? No, we should keep the consistency. That means we should always access our variables or methods or classes by their exact name without changing the cases. So I should always use with J as in small case. I need to change my V as well and then my C as well. We should always access a variable by its name, the exact name with exact cases. We should not change these cases as this makes your code inconsistent and the next programmer who is reading your code could be an ex-murderer and can kill you for this. So always keep the consistency of your variables and methods and classes. Now let's start with our Apex class, like how you should name your Apex class and what are the naming conventions that you should follow. So here I am in my developer console and I'm gonna go to my file menu and I'll go to the new and then Apex class. So here you are allowed to give your Apex class any name. So you can write any name here. But does this name make any sense to you? No. So you should always give a meaningful name to your class. And that's the reason we named our previous class as COVID-19 because that class had some functions related to the Corona movement or the COVID-19 movement in a country and how you can track the recovered patients. So always give a meaningful name. And the second thing that you should know about Apex class name is it should be in Pascal case, which means every word of your Apex class name should be capitalized. Like if I want to name my class as naming conventions demo, this is how I will name it. So note the capital cases here. My N is capital because naming is a word. Then my C is capital of conventions and my D is capital of demo. So this is how you should name your class. You should always keep your class name in Pascal cases. As per the official documents of Salesforce, we should follow the Java naming conventions in Apex. And that's what the Java naming convention says. So let's create this class. And this is the dummy code that we'll get. Now here in this class we can have our variables and methods. So let's create a new string variable here and you can name your variable anything like do. But does this name make any sense to you? What if this variable holds a very important value like your secret key, right? How come you know that this particular variable, which I don't even know how can I pronounce it, holds a very important string? We cannot, right? It's just like having so many untitled folder on your desktop, and if you want to find a very important file, you will never know in which untitled folder you should go and search for that file. So it's a big mess, right? So that's why you should always give meaningful name to your variables as well. And the naming conventions that you should follow here is the camel case, which means the first word of your variable should be in small cases and every word after that should be capitalized like the way we have our class name capitalized. So if I want to name this variable as super secret key, this is how I will name it. So notice that my first word is all in small cases, then I have S capital of my second word and then K capital of my third word. And the same naming convention you should follow for the methods as well. The first word should be all in small cases, then each word after that should be capitalized. So your methods and variables shares the same naming conventions, but your class should follow the Pascal case. And now let's talk about the final variables or the constant variables. We have discussed this before as well. Apex or Java recommends that you name your final variables or the constant variables all in capital cases. For example, if I want to create a new constant variable with name my final variable, I'll name it like this. So notice that all the letters in my final variable are in capital case, and just to make my final variable name more readable, I am using underscores in between so that I know where my first word ends and the second word starts. So you can also use the same pattern. Now there are some naming conventions that Apex forces, like you cannot start your variable or method name with a number. I cannot name my super secret key as 123 super secret key. If you try to save it, you will get an error and it says unexpected token 123. So you cannot start your variable names or method names or even class names with numbers. However, you can use your numbers later on, the way we used the COVID-19, right? Here as well, if you use 123 at the end of the variable, you can use it. You can use it anywhere after the first letter. So let's remove 123 from here. Now the second thing is you cannot use special characters in your class, variable or method names except the underscore. So if I want to use, let's say, star here, I cannot do that. If I'll save it, I'll get an error. And again it says unexpected token star. And if I try to use the ampersand, again I'll get some error. But if I'll try to use underscore, it will allow me to save my class because underscores are allowed in a variable name. However, the underscores are also not allowed at the beginning of your variable name or at the end of your variable name. And the same rule applies to your class name and method name as well. Now, a few last things that you need to remember. You cannot create multiple classes with the same name. So each time you need to create a new class with a unique name. So Apex doesn't allow duplicate class names. And very similar to that, Apex doesn't allow the duplicate variables as well within the same scope. Which means if I use the super secret key and if I'll copy this statement once again, it won't allow me to save my class because this is a duplicate variable. But if I have a function here, then it will allow me to use the super secret key once again because the scope of the variable changes. Let's quickly try that. So this time I was able to save my code. The reason being, now this super secret key belongs to the complete class, but this super secret key only belongs to this function. So that's why you are able to use the same name here in this variable as well. So within the same scope, you cannot have multiple variables with the same name. You can have multiple functions with the same name, which is called the polymorphism, and we have already discussed that in our previous videos. So I think I have covered most of the ground rules here, but if I miss something, then I'll keep on talking about these rules as and when I remember in our coming videos of this course. So always keep these rules in your mind while you are writing your code and beware of that X murderer.